All right, back on the Young Turks. I'm your host, Cenk Junger. JR's producing, Jesus is directing. We've got a lovely hour ahead for you guys. First, we're going to talk to Sebastian Junger. He was director of Restrepo. He's now the author of War. And Sebastian, welcome to the Young Turks.
Thank you very much.
All right. First, I want to ask you, we reviewed your movie here on our program. Is it based on is the book based on the same events that you covered for the movie?
Yes, that's right. Same platoon, same deployment, same valley, same everything. They're very different work, obviously, but the same topic.
Okay, and so for the people who, of course, didn't see that review, let's review what it was, where you were, who you were with.
I was with one platoon of men, about 35 guys, in the Korengal Valley of eastern Afghanistan. The Korengal is about 6 miles long. It's near the border of Pakistan. It's up in the mountains. It looks a lot like Colorado. It's very beautiful, but it's very violent. And when I was there, 1/5 of all the combat in all of Afghanistan was happening around this little outpost that I was at called Restrepo. It was a 15 to 20 man outpost. It was manned by 2nd Platoon. They were in almost 500 firefights during their deployment, and I did a total of 5 months with those guys. I did 5 one-month trips. What I wanted to do was write a book and to make a movie. I had a video camera, and my partner and I shot 150 hours of video. I wanted to do these 2 projects to show what it's like to be a soldier in combat. That's it. Like, not the wider war, not the political conversation about should we be there or not, just simply what it's like to be a soldier.
And what were some of the biggest lessons you learned from that?
Well, it was interesting. I mean, the guys, you know, they joined up for a variety of reasons. Obviously, they're all volunteers, and once they got into the Army, they did not want to sit on a rear base and change tires on Humvees. They wanted to be in combat, and so they all made the very active choice to be in. They were in Battle Company, B Company of the 173rd Airborne, a very active unit, long, proud history. But all, you know, they joined because of 9/11. They joined because maybe their dad was in Vietnam or whatever. But once they got out there, all of those reasons fell away. What they were really fighting for each other. They all needed each other. Like I said, there was only 15 or 20 guys at this outpost, and there were 300 or 400 fighters in the valley. And had they massed against this outpost, they could have overrun us, absolutely. And so everyone had to do their job. And so you had these 19-year-old, 20-year-old guys who, back home, they were just 19-year-olds. They're at the bottom of the food chain. They don't know who they are. They don't know what society wants from them. Then they're put out on this hilltop, and all of a sudden they're absolutely necessary to, you know, a couple of dozen other guys. So the result was, because of that certainty of purpose, that sort of clarity, the result was that when they finished, when they came back to Vicenza, Italy, where they're based, they all wanted, after a few weeks, they all wanted to go back because they felt so lost in society.
That brings up so many different interesting points. First, you know, the Bush administration, once one of them said, well, look, these guys, they all signed up for it. And that seemed to be a terribly flippant attitude about our troops who were getting killed at the time in Iraq, less so in Afghanistan at the time, although, of course, both were going at the same time. But as you tell this story, and now we've seen it in a couple of different places, well, it almost looks like they want the battle, and so they're willing to take those risks, and they enjoy those risks. So was that almost a fair statement then?
I mean, look, I'm no fan of the Bush administration, so I don't want to find myself defending it. But I think it, and I can't know the mind of the person who said that. So, but I can say that the guys that I was with, they do not want people to feel sorry for them. They want people to be proud of them. I mean, these guys did choose to join the Army. They didn't have to do this. They were all smart young guys. They could have done anything. They wanted to do this. They do not want pity at all. What they really want is for people, both pro-war and anti-war people, they know that a lot of people back in the States do not want them in Afghanistan. They understand that. But they're doing something very, very difficult. They're doing something mentally, psychologically incredibly hard. And on some level, they're choosing to serve their country, and most of the citizens of this country, me included, did not make that choice. And so what they really do want is a kind of acknowledgement for their service, and an apolitical one at that. They're not very political, these guys. I mean, they're young and they're doing a very hard job. They really do not think about the war in political terms.
I understand all that, and I'm not surprised by it. But at the same time, you can't help but look and see that it was all useless, right? Because tell us what happened with the hilltop in this story.
I'm sorry, so I didn't quite catch what you said. Say that again.
What happened with the hilltop that they were protecting in that?
Well, I mean, the U.S. military pulled out of the Korengal Valley and put the unit that was there, put them elsewhere. It's not. I mean, you have to understand that that kind of decision gets made all the time in wars. I mean, just to go for an enormous example, Dunkirk. The Allies took 30,000 casualties in Dunkirk and pulled out. So this was a very, very minor version of that, and the point of those outposts out there, they were trying to. I mean, the Korengal itself was not particularly important. It's 6 miles long, but it was an insurgent base for attacks on the Pesh River Valley to the north, which really was quite important. And they were trying to build a road through the Pesh. There was a big population center there, a lot of agriculture, a lot of economy. And the insurgents were attacking the Pesh River from the Korengal while they were trying to while the U.S. was trying to build this road to bring government in, and so they built the bases in the Korengal to prevent those attacks, and it basically worked. Now the road is built, and I think the level of fighting in the Korengal had dropped tremendously in the past year, and I think the American commanders just decided those guys were better used elsewhere.
All right, but one more political question, somewhat political question. If it turns out that we leave Afghanistan at some point, which of course we will, and the country is not altogether that stable, which of course it won't be, all those people who died, I mean, I'm not asking you for your opinion, but I'm asking whether the guys that you saw serving together, whether they think about that, whether they think it's a waste, or they think it's entirely irrelevant whether we win, we lose, we draw, whatever it might be.
They tend not to think of it that way. They're really a lot like the police in that sense. I mean, the cops that I know don't really think about, the war on crime. They do have the understanding that if there's a police force, crime will have less of an impact on society than if there's no police force. But they're under no illusions that they're going to, quote, win the war on crime. That's an ongoing battle. And the soldiers, I think, sort of feel the same thing, like that they were out there, they chose to join the Army, this was the job they were given, and they really fought for each other. And a lot of these guys are out of the Army now, and if the U.S. pulls out of Afghanistan, I think it'll be an emotional thing for them. I think they'll also be glad that more guys are not going to die there, but I don't think it's going to affect the way they feel about the year that they spent there. I'm totally taking a guess here, but that's my inclination.
We're talking to Sebastian Junger. He is the author of the new book, War. He was also the director of Res Repo, about the same hilltop in Afghanistan, and he's also the writer of The Perfect Storm. So, Sebastian, let's go back real quick to Lost in Society. They come back and then they feel a little lost because they're not getting that enormous rush that they were getting in war and the great sense of belonging, etc. Is there anything we can do about that? And is that going to cause problems for them and for people around them down the road?
Well, interestingly, when they came back and had that reaction, they weren't even really in society. They were still in the Army at a military base. They called the base Coward's Land because guys who had never, as they said to me, guys who have never been in combat could boss around, could order around guys who have been in combat. And it was sort of an inversion of what to them made sense, and it really drove them crazy. A few of them, one guy chose from the platoon, only one guy chose to get out of the Army. Everyone else re-upped. And he had a terrifically hard time. And but even in Vicenza, what they missed, it was partly the rush. I mean, for sure, adrenaline is sort of part of this. But it really was also, and I think primarily, the brotherhood that they had up there. And it really was a brotherhood, and that's very different from friendship. And friendship, the way you act is a reflection of how you feel about another person, about your friend. With brotherhood, it has nothing to do with how you feel. It really is an understanding that you will put your personal safety, your personal interest below that of the group. And if everyone in the group does that, everyone is better off. And for a 20-year-old, that's a psychologically, emotionally, that's an extremely reassuring, sort of solid place to be. And so in a very strange way, when they were sort of back in the more open society that didn't have that understanding, that was the frightening sort of insecure place. And Restrepo, as dangerous as it was the place that they felt most at ease and most sure of who they were and what was expected of them.
How much did they share that brotherhood with you, since you guys were there for so long with them?
Well, that feeling sort of grew throughout the trips. My partner and I, Tim, we did a total of 10 one-month trips. Sometimes we were together, sometimes not. And I felt completely included in the platoon. And I think if I'd, if something bad had happened to me, I think they would have undergone great risks to help me. And I think I would have for them as well. I made really, really good friends there. I was obviously not carrying a weapon, and part of that particular form of brotherhood is that everyone is there to defend everyone else. And so Tim and I obviously were not part of that, but we had some sort of variation on that where we felt very, very included in that dynamic.
One more thing, you said one of the guys decided not to re-up, and he had a hard time. Did the other guys give him a hard time?
Oh God, no. That's everyone's personal choice, and no, there was no issue. He had a hard time when he got back to the States. He had a very hard time readjusting. And, he sort of went into the Army with a lot of personal baggage. He was a pretty troubled kid, and the Army kind of straightened him out and gave him... He was an amazing soldier. He was one of the best soldiers out there. And I think his big worry, and it partly came true, was that if he went back into society, he would become that troubled kid again. And it was kind of self-fulfilling. I mean, he's okay now, but he had a rough passage.
All right, well, there's no question that it's a fascinating story. The book is called War. Sebastian Junger is the author. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right, we'll be right back on The Young Turks.